After Christmas, life was easier. Valerie came more often and she stayed for the weekend. They began to call the third bedroom Valerie's room. Slowly, Dad was beginning to come back to life. He bought some new clothes too, and Greg was pleased about that. But perhaps the piece about older men losing their hair was unkind, Greg thought. He took the piece of newspaper off the kitchen wall and wrote a note in its place. Then he put the dinner to cook slowly while he was out. The table was ready, with flowers on it, and everything looked just right. Greg usually cooked the meals. He was good at it, and he liked everything to be nice for his dad and Val. The band practice was at a friend's house, and Greg began to go there 5 months after Mom's death. He just wanted to get out of the house sometimes, but he told Dad he was interested in music. Music? Dad said, or rock and roll? Rock and roll was in the 1950s, Greg told him. It's rock music these days. After the practice that evening, Greg wanted to get home quickly. He wanted to hear happy voices and listen to the nice things that Valerie said about his cooking. So he said goodbye to his friends and hurried home. The light was on in the living room when he arrived, and for a minute he watched from outside. Dad was standing alone in the room, with his back to the window, but Valerie's car was outside the house. Then Valerie came into the living room, and his father walked over to her with his arms open. Greg went round to the back door very slowly. He wanted to give them more time together. He felt very pleased that his plan was going well. He liked Valerie a lot, and often told Dad that he liked her. There was no hurry, but if one day Dad and Valerie, he would never forget Mom, of course. Sometime he thought that he could see her in the house or the garden. But he knew that Valerie understood this. When Greg went in, they were sitting down again. There were a lot of flowers in the room, red, pink, orange and yellow. Valerie brought them, Dad said, smiling. Greg remembered Valerie's beautiful walled garden with its bright flowers. It was warm there even in March. Did Valerie want to leave all that? He looked at Dad. Something was different. Dad's clothes were new and he was wearing jeans. His father was wearing jeans. And he was smiling. His father was Stephen Barber again. He was the bright and happy man who married Mom. At dinner, Dad tried hard to please Valerie. In the old days, Dad didn't have to try to please women. They all loved him. The 2 girls who worked with him at the opticians loved him too. Greg asked his mother about this once, but she wasn't unhappy about it. She just laughed. Oh, yes, they both love him, she said. What about you? Greg asked angrily. Oh, they think I don't understand him. I'm sure they'll be happy if I fall under a bus. But it wasn't a bus. She was driving her car when the accident happened. How did the 2 women in the opticians feel now? They were both young and beautiful. Valerie wasn't young or beautiful, but she was right, just right. When he went up to bed that night, Greg left his door open and he could hear Dad and Valerie downstairs. They were talking and laughing together for hours. It was very late when they came to bed. So Dad was alive again. The next week he bought more clothes for himself and for Greg. His new clothes were much more fashionable than his old ones. And at the weekend he and Valerie went out on Saturday and Sunday. Greg watched from his bedroom window. When they were getting into the car, Dad ran to open the door for Valerie. He no longer looked like a tired old man, Greg thought. In his new clothes, he looked slim and young. On Wednesday, Dad came home early and said he was going to a party. It's Yvonne at the shop, he said. She's going to get married. A party? Greg said. You won't like the music, or the dancing. Yvonne's much younger than you, and you don't like my music. Is Valerie going? Valerie? Of course not. I'm sure she's got better things to do. Greg thought back to the old days. Dad and Mom often went to quiet dinner parties with friends, but never to a party with dancing, with people who were 20 years younger. Greg didn't like it. It was after midnight when Dad came home. Valerie came as usual on Friday. Greg cooked the dinner and then he went into the kitchen to get some drinks ready for them. But when Valerie arrived, Dad didn't hurry down to open the door as usual and Greg had to go himself. He took Valerie's bags from her and they went into the front room. Just then Greg heard Dad put the phone down in the bedroom upstairs. After a while Dad came downstairs and went into the front room. Greg gave him some time alone with Valerie before he took the drinks in. But when he went in, they were just sitting and talking. "I was just saying that I won't be here tomorrow," Dad said. "Well, not until the evening. I have to go to the shop." Sue phoned to say she can't come into work. But later Greg remembered the sound of the phone upstairs. Nobody rang earlier, he thought. Dad was making a call, not answering one. On Saturday morning, Valerie said, "You're cooking us a nice dinner tonight, Greg, so I'll make lunch today." Greg watched her for a minute while she sat at the kitchen table, cutting up apples. It was a comfortable, friendly picture, he thought. Then he ran upstairs to his father's bedroom, closed the door and phoned the opticians. "I'm afraid he's not in today," the girl answered. "Can I help you?" "No, it's nothing important, thank you," Greg said. But it was important. It was. On Sunday evening, Valerie said, "See you next week." She was talking to Greg, but it was Dad who answered. "I'm not sure. Can I phone you?" "Yes, of course." Valerie was a little surprised. Greg was very surprised and at the same time, not surprised at all. "What's happening next week, then?" he said after Valerie left. "Where will we be?" "Here." "I don't know." Dad wasn't looking at him. "Well, perhaps I won't be here next weekend. But I want to see Valerie next weekend." "Why don't you go there, then?" "I'll ask her, if you like." "Perhaps she's bored with coming here every week." "No, she isn't." "Look," Dad said, "Valerie's done a lot for us. She's a good friend. But, well, she's only a friend." "Only a friend?" "But I thought you and her." "No." Later Greg told his friend, Toby, about it. "Well, your dad's free now," Toby said. "He's come alive again after your mum's death, and he wants to start again. And Valerie's too old for him. They're the same age." I asked her. "Yes, but she looks older than him. I've seen her. He doesn't want people to see him with someone like that. He can get someone better. The someone that Dad got was 24 and she looked 18. "Oh, you are clever," she said to Greg when he cooked the dinner that Friday evening. "I can't cook anything." "Why don't you learn?" Greg said coldly. "I won't always be here." "And neither will you," he said silently to himself.